Welcome to yet another version of This Week in Crypto Rant. I'm Dave Weisberger, the CEO of CoinRoutes, and there's so much to talk about this week. I'm not going to talk about Sam Bankman fraud and FTX. May he rot in a Bahamian jail for a while for his theft, but rather, I'd want to focus on something that's an under the radar story this week. Elizabeth Warren and one of her pals in the Senate introduced a bill basically that would ban all crypto transactions. Essentially, they are claiming to inflict on money laundering. They're trying to get KYC on all miners, wallets, validators, etc., which, considering many of the participants in many public blockchains have no notion of which customers they're doing their job for, would render those blockchains impossible to use. That is an attack directly on economic freedom. It is basically economic totalitarianism, and they're trying to use the issues that have come up with crypto as a smokescreen to push their agenda. The agenda is government control. Do not make a mistake. They don't want you to be able to reach into your pocket, pull out money, and pay for anything. They want everything you do to be watched by the government. That's why Venmo transactions over $600 now are going to get reported. They allow Sam Bankman-Fried to steal $10 billion, or at least went on for quite some time, but $600 transactions they can't. Banning Bitcoin this way, a surreptitious way, would be catastrophic for the cause of economic freedom worldwide, and it's something that really needs to be fought. So that's what we're starting with this week. There are two other things that we should talk about this week as well. The first one is I have to talk about Kevin O'Leary again. I can't fucking believe this guy is doubling down on supporting Sam Bankman-Fried's ability to craft a vision and him investing in him. It reminds me of somebody who just wants to believe in his hero so much, even evidence that it doesn't exist right in front of his eyes, he's ignoring it. But the real problem is, he's delusional. We can understand that. We all see it. We know that Sam, yes, he had some really smart ideas, but he stole, doubled down, lost it, stole again, doubled down, lost it, stole again, doubled down, lost it, tried to steal, but there was no money left, and then he got caught. This is the guy that O'Leary wants to invest in. But consider that he is someone with an audience in the millions. He is someone who is responsible, either directly or indirectly, for investing billions. And the SEC, through their wonderful vision, has this notion of an accredited investor rule that says only rich people get to invest in private companies. If you are average, even if you have hundreds of thousands of dollars, even if you spend hundreds of hours researching, doing due diligence, you're not allowed to invest in private assets. Only in the assets after maybe Series C, D, and E that the private equity guys have done, and then they get to dump it to you at a higher price. Wonderful. We all know the accredited investor rule is something that causes income disparity because it only allows the rich to get richer and the average people can't. But at least we used to believe that the people who are the biggest accredited investors did their due diligence and actually were safer. Well, Kevin O'Leary is certainly the poster child, but he has company. The lead investor at FTX was Sequoia, who obviously did just about zero due diligence. They didn't look at the accounting process. They didn't look at the bank accounts. They didn't look to see that the revenues were what they said they were or came from the right place. Now, that's really important because if you consider Alameda as a prop trading firm, most people will give maybe 1 or 2 times revenue when they're evaluating an enterprise of a prop trading firm, because who knows where the next prop trade is going to come from. But at something like FTX, which is an agency stream of revenue, and a tech company, they may get 30 times revenue in terms of valuation. Well, obviously, if you didn't know which was making the money, and they clearly did not, then you couldn't possibly put a valuation on it that was reasonable. Yet, Ontario Teachers Pension Fund, believing in the story, followed them in and lost $100 million. What's their verdict? They said, oh, well, we shouldn't invest in crypto anymore. Well, that's a bunch of happy horse shit. This had nothing to do with crypto. This was theft and complete incompetence. But yet, we have the accredited investor rule. This needs to be talked about, and so far it's probably too raw, but I'm bringing it up, and I will continue to bring it up until someone is willing to take the other side. Lastly, we need to talk about Binance, because in the world of crypto, Binance is a big story. In fact, the market was completely flat before today, and even today, Bitcoin is down maybe 1% from where it was last week, Ethereum maybe 5%, but most of that fall over the last night, even though equity markets fell a bit, was because of the ongoing rumors surrounding Binance. Oh, we can't understand their proof of reserves. What's the proximate cause? The accounting firm Mazars pulled out of crypto. They didn't just pull out from Binance, they pulled out of crypto. And people are going, oh my God, crypto must be too risky. No. What you need to understand is why. If you're an accounting firm, you need to be able to certify results and you put your reputation on the line. But when you're an exchange and you are coupled and doing your own custody and have complete control over it, the fact that you can move assets from one wallet to another within seconds potentially is problematic for a consulting firm who might look at this wallet and say, okay, that's great. And then they go to look at the other wallet and people can move assets from here to there. In the world of the normal world, we used to call that a 3-card Monte or a shell game. And the reality is, I'm not saying Binance is doing it, but if you're the head of an accounting firm and you know that it could be done to you, you're going to find it risky. So it is hard to verify when one person who you're auditing also has control over the assets. The only way to assure that they can't do that is that the people you're auditing don't have control of the assets and it's done by a third party. Makes it much, much harder to do. Now, we could talk about how you would accomplish that for regulation. Over the coming weeks, we will. But it's important to understand why. Until we get to a world where exchanges are separate from custodians, then we are going to have these sorts of issues. That doesn't even talk about the liability side, which is also complicated because with derivative exchanges, you have to handle collateral and do math. But the real problem is the ability to move assets around. Last topic, my favorite topic sometimes is Gary Gensler. We're going to keep it really short this week because this is the week that he deployed the Armada, as it was titled on Twitter, of market structure regulations affecting all securities, focus on equities, but everywhere. Over 1,400 pages of regulations dropped, many of which, things like forcing an auction into the equity market structure, regulation best X, and some other things, are really going to be very heavy duty. There will be lots of public comments and lots of opportunity to take it. But it is worth noting this week that with the announcement of what happened with FTX, that people should start looking at Mr. Gensler and his involvement, particularly since he settled with BlockFi. And BlockFi then went bankrupt in the whole FTX debacle. And it turns out that he was investigating this connection all along and did nothing about it. Zero. Zilch. Yet, he's trumpeting his indictment or his particular suit against Sam as proof of how good of a regulator they are. If they knew that stuff when they settled with BlockFi, instead of being BlockFi's biggest creditor, which they are, ahead of customers, perhaps they could have done something about this a long time ago. They didn't, and we'll let everything judge as we see how this story develops. In any case, stay safe out there.